The penultimate episode of Ahsoka has dropped, and now it's time to break down our 6 key takeaways. Hold on to your helmets because this episode sets us up for a huge finale next week.
Time is very much on our side now.
However, it didn't resonate with everyone, so let's get into the big talking points.
Oh, not this again.
We're going to kick things off today with a green box for box number 1, and it's actually going to be for the New Republic. Now, this was an element of episode 7 that not everyone was pleased with being in there. They thought that we should have spent more time with Priya, and that the New Republic side of things was less important. I would actually say, at this point in time within Star Wars, the New Republic are massively important. It's their actions that are going to determine how successful Thrawn is once he does return and the Imperial remnants are at taking control of the galaxy. We pick up with Hera's trial in front of the Senate committee. Now, in episode 5, Mon Mothma told her she had to return to Coruscant. There's a possibility that she could lose her title as general, and that's what we're seeing play out here. That just shows you itself. The fact they've put her on trial shows you how blind they are to the possibility of Thrawn's return, that they really don't believe it, and the possibility that the Imperial remnants are acting together and they are coordinated, they're not just dysfunctional and scattered. Now, the Imperial remnants, I have to say, they're playing their part really well at hiding what they're really up to. Of course, we know, thanks to The Mandalorian Season 3, that they have the Shadow Council working underground, and that's a way that they're all connected. The New Republic doesn't know about that. You've got a few individuals in there, such as Mon Mothma, Hera, possibly even Leia after this episode as well. They're a bit more alert, a bit more aware, a bit more cautious of what's actually going on. But ultimately, like Mon Mothma, her hands are tied with the position she's in. She can't really do much outside of what the rest of the Senate approves. For now at least, because I can honestly see there being some kind of rebellion within the New Republic itself, with characters like Hera, with characters like Mon Mothma and Leia Organa. It's not outside of their character to be part of a rebellion now, is it? And I can see them kind of looking at the New Republic and thinking, well, you're not really taking this seriously, you're not doing much. You're effectively leaving the galaxy as a sitting duck, waiting to be attacked and taken over by the Empire again. We're going to take matters into our own hands, and I think that's what's going to ultimately lead to the resistance later on down the line. Now, just as Hera's getting a bit of a grilling, it's not looking great for her, C-3PO enters the room with a data disk from Leia Organa authorizing Hera's mission to Satos, which of course is the whole reason she's on Coruscant and she's defending herself right now because it wasn't authorized. Well, Leia goes and authorizes it after the mission's complete. This is kind of like a New Hope clawback here, where once Leia gave R2 the data disk with the Death Star plans on, this time around she gives them to 3PO to save Hera's skin. It just shows you that despite her not being on screen, she's around and she's directly involved now. She's the leader of the Defense Council at this point in time. So that could also open up the possibility of her encountering characters like Din Djarin if he's working with Carson Teva in the future. And it just makes me wonder, this is the second time now that we've had Leia referenced in Ahsoka in the last couple of episodes. Is there a way that she's going to appear in episode 8 next week? Could it be like one of them Rogue One-esque endings where she appears in the final moments to give a little bit of hope to the galaxy? We'll have to wait and see. So let's move on to box number 2. It's going to be a green one again for one of the standout characters of the show so far, and that is Balon Skoll. Now, initially going into episode 7, we saw him and Shin team up with the bandits, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, no one was anticipating this, there was no leaks, no rumours about it, Balon absolutely splits. Now, I predicted he would turn at some point, but not in this manner. Now, he senses his path that's laid out before him is different to that of Shin's, that her ambition is going to take her closer to what Thrawn's doing with the Empire, and Balon's path, probably being what he's heard calling out to him through the Force, is going to take him into a different direction. So this whole conflict between Ahsoka, Thrawn, the Empire, the New Republic is no longer his fight. It's no longer something he wants to be a part of, but he will enable and he will support Shin in every way that he can to transition to going solo and being on her own, but ultimately he's going to be out of the picture from now on. Hopefully we'll see where he's going with all of this and what's actually calling to him in the next episode, or I'm not too sure. Maybe we'll have to wait until season 2 to pick up on that one. But the way he leaves it with his apprentice is he tells her to go and be part of the new Empire. This is when Ahsoka arrives. He's on his own, and he tells Ahsoka, interestingly, that he's not disappointed to see her again. That, you know, he's not really disappointed that she survived their encounter. He just can't allow Ahsoka to interfere with what's going on with Thrawn and the Empire. Now, we learn in their battle that he's actually more powerful than Ahsoka, so we have that confirmed now. But he doesn't pursue Ahsoka afterwards. He allows her to flee, and he kind of looks regretful, or a little bit emotional towards the end of their encounter. It's kind of like Balon never wanted to harm Ahsoka, and we kind of got that in the other episode as well, even though he kind of did, but he never wanted to kill Ahsoka. He mentioned it would be a shame to kill her, there are so few Jedi left. It just shows you that Balon isn't completely dark. He's kind of sat on the fence with the whole thing. He still has the Jedi in high regard, but he also has the facts and the reality of what he believes the Jedi to be as well. I kind of think maybe Balon coming up against Ahsoka, who's clearly a different version of Ahsoka that he went against the first time around, has actually possibly inspired him, or reminded him at least, of what it really means to be a Jedi, and that was the kind of strange look he gave after their second fight. Now, box number 3 is a strange one, but it's actually going to be an orange box for Ezra. Now, this is really hard because I've massively enjoyed this character so far, but there are some moments that I'm just not too sure about, like, for example, why is he allowing Sabine to be so vague around how she arrived on Peridea? It kind of leads Ezra to come across as a bit naive, a little bit foolish at times. Now, Sabine arrives, and then also out of nowhere another Force wielder arrives, a bad guy with a lightsaber. Is he not putting 2 and 2 together in here and asking more questions about how Sabine actually got there? Now, I've enjoyed seeing how he fights using the Force, like that Force karate. I think he done pretty well, it's pretty cool, but I do wonder, how is he going to cope? Because he refused to take his lightsaber back. How is he going to cope when he comes up against a more powerful Force user, more powerful than Shin? Let's say Balon, if he comes back into the picture at some stage. And although his Force fighting, whatever you want to call it, was pretty cool, it wasn't the best. And even Shin got the better of him towards the end, where she Force pushed him into, I think it was like a hut or one of them little buildings that the Noti have. I did kind of think Ezra was going to be more powerful, considering that was the big Jedi that they were building up to appearing again towards the end of the season. And you can't really say he's just a little bit rusty because he's been out there lost on Peridea for years and years and years, because he's definitely been fighting to harness the abilities that he has now. He didn't have them at the end of the Rebels when he disappeared. So maybe there is more to come from Ezra still. Maybe he just needs that little push, that little bit of extra motivation. Perhaps when he finds out how Sabine arrived on Peridea and Thrawn's likely going to return to the main galaxy, perhaps that can push him and give him that little extra shove. Overall, I like Emma Esfandi's portrayal of Ezra Bridger in the Ahsoka show, but I just want to see more from Ezra as a character in terms of his Force abilities, and please, just give this man a lightsaber. So box number 4, we're going to return to positive ways. That is going to be green, and that is going to be for Shin. Now, Shin and Balon, up until episode 7, you could have almost always put them in the same box. You never saw one without the other, but now they've seemingly parted ways. She's even more fascinating, Shin, because you really can't read her, and you have trouble reading Balon some of the times as well. One moment they look like they're going to switch to be good guys, at one moment they look like they're going full on dark side. One moment Shin gives you a look and you can see emotion on her face. The next minute she's absolutely Force choking Sabine. So I have to say, I massively think that although Shin has taken side with Thrawn, she is still massively conflicted. And I think it's just a case of right now she's allied with Thrawn for her place in the Empire. It's effectively what her master told her to do, and she's going to go around now trying to prove her worth to him, trying to prove that she should be part of the Imperial future. But she does have that conflict within her, which is going to hold her back despite what path he decides to take in future, whether it's going to be as a good guy or a bad guy. Now I think this conflict ultimately does come down from Balon. Balon's not really a character that is dark, or he's not really a character that is light. He's kind of stuck in the middle, and I think he's trained Shin unintentionally to be just that. But also he's kind of left her out there, vulnerable, because she hasn't completed her training. She's not the strongest Force user, the strongest lightsaber wielder on the field, in battle on Peridea at the moment. So he's kind of left her exposed. Shin is very much a work in progress. She needs more training, but she does have really high potential. One interesting aspect of the show so far is they keep likening Ezra to Shin and saying they're kind of similar. Now, Shin asked it herself when she found out Ezra was trained out in the wild as a Bokken Jedi. And then Balon went on to tell her that actually, no, I trained you to be more than that. But then Sabine actually tells Ezra she's like you. But I do definitely think they're setting up something for the pair, whether it's going to be romantic or a friendship later on, it's yet to be seen. But if it does happen, I'm going to totally be there for it. That'll be pretty cool and a good way to go. Now, Ahsoka extended her hand out to Shin and offered to help her, but Shin decided to turn her back, run back to Thrawn and the Empire. So it kind of tells you where she is with things at the moment, but it also opens up the possibility of her joining up with Ahsoka and accepting that offer in future, perhaps if Thrawn doesn't take too kindly to her, or really does misuse her, or doesn't put any faith or trust in her. Shin could get a bit disillusioned with that and then decide to swap over. Now, box number 5 is going to be a green one, and it's going to be for the Grand Admiral Thrawn. When Morgan Elsbeth looked at what was going on the battlefield and saw that their forces retreated and Ahsoka, Ezra and Sabine were all united on the ground on Peridea, she saw that as a mini defeat for Thrawn and the Imperials. However, Thrawn saw it in a different way. Thrawn saw it as the fact that the good guys have lost time, valuable time that they don't have, and now the cargo's nearly loaded up, they're ready to go. I think this episode just done a great job in showing the audience overall what kind of character Thrawn is. The fact that they had a minefield set up in anticipation of the Purgle. They already planned and acted out a way to deal with Ahsoka's arrival before Ahsoka actually knew she was going to pull up at the right destination. But what's more than this, they've also, by putting their mines up, stopped any way back in terms of the Purgle, because with their mines set up there, then Purgle are probably going to avoid that area for a long time now, if not forever. But it's going to be interesting in episode 8, because I think that's where we're really going to find what's going on with Thrawn. Yes, we know he wants to escape Peridea. Yes, we know he wants to bring the Empire back to the main galaxy, but he's up to something else as well with them catacombs and the boxes he's loading on board. Now, I think that's likely going to be dead Night Sisters and brothers, and they're being loaded on behalf of the Great Mothers as part of the agreement for them lending him their dark magic and them being at his disposal. I think part of the agreement is they get them off-world and they take the boxes from the catacombs, probably coffins or caskets, and they take them to another destination in the main galaxy. But this is going to be important to Thrawn as well, because when it comes to it, the nitty-gritty, when there is a fight ongoing and Thrawn's forces are depleting further because we already know they're dwindling, then he's going to say to the Night Sisters, yep, you can go and resurrect the rest of your sisters, your brothers, to fight for us. Let's win this battle. Let's just get out of here. But overall, I just think this episode done really well at hammering home just what type of character Thrawn is, and the fact he's 5 paces ahead of everyone else. Then let's move on to box number 6. It's going to be a green box, and it's going to be for the setup. Now, I'll be honest, this episode isn't the best of the whole season, but it's not a bad episode by any means of the imagination. And I would actually say that it's on par with some of the finals we've had of other Star Wars Disney Plus shows beforehand. Particularly, I'm thinking The Mandalorian Season 3. This is the kind of episode you'd expect to be the final episode of The Mandalorian. We're getting it in episode 7 of Ahsoka, so just blows my mind what crazy stuff we're going to be seeing in episode 8. I'm actually going to give this one now an 8.5 out of 10. So much happened. You had big fights, Ahsoka, Balon, you had Ezra and Shin. You had Balon leave. The idea that episode 8 is going to be even better is completely mind-blowing. Shin's likely been elevated up the ranks in Thrawn's empire. Balon's completely gone rogue. The heroes are finally all reunited and they're both coming off what they think is a victory, so we have to see what happens next week. Thrawn still believes he's in control of the whole situation. I have to say I'm pretty gutted that we're only a week away now from Ahsoka finishing. I could actually do with watching another 8 episodes of these. I've enjoyed them that much. Overall, for the episode, I'll say it's a strong episode, a good build-up to episode 8 next week. Could some things have been a little bit different with Ezra? Yeah, of course, I think they could have, but it's nothing major. And M&S Fandy, as I say, is doing a fantastic job portraying the character of Ezra. All the chess pieces seem to be coming into play now, and it's time for that big face-off next week to see who comes out on top. And I think there's going to be some surprises in store for us as well. What do you rate episode 7 out of 10? Let me know down in the comments. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on today's video if you enjoyed it. I'll catch you in the next one. May the Force be with you.